As I'm editing the video, I just want everyone to know that this is going to be a very long and informative video. So if you're not interested, I would recommend not watching because it's about college and high school, but I will be posting lifestyle, college vlogs after this, maybe traveling vlogs instead of college stuff, so please stay tuned for that. It is finally time for our long-awaited stats video. So today I'm just going to be talking about my high school stats, extracurriculars, and some tips I have as an international student for those of you who are wondering, and also perhaps applying as an international student. So for some context, I went to a really small international school in Taiwan. So there are only about like 24 people in my grade. And so class rank and things like that weren't really important because you weren't really competing with a big pool of people. But I did do a lot of projects inside of school, outside of school, a lot of volunteering and things like that. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about my high school grades. And our school, we are only allowed to take AP classes starting sophomore year. So for freshman year, I didn't take any APs, but I was in all honors classes, and our GPA was out of 4 when you didn't take any APs. But if you took APs, then your GPA would be out of 4.5. So it's a little bit confusing. But basically, I have my transcript right here for freshman year, so I can just tell you guys my GPA for both semesters and maybe some of the classes that I took. I think it'll be easier to understand if I just tell you guys my average score out of 100 for all of my school years. So for the first semester of freshman year, I got a 94.79, and then for the second semester, I got a 98.96. And then for sophomore year, the first semester, I got a 93.59, and the second semester, I got a 97.01 out of 100. And starting sophomore year, I did start taking some APs, but I'll get to that in the next section. And then for junior year, I got a 97.58 average for my first semester and a 97.06 average for my second semester. And then for senior year, which I think only the first semester is really relevant, I didn't really have an average yet, but I had a 4.21 GPA, weighted, because my school doesn't really do unweighted. Okay, so moving on from average scores, now I'm going to talk about APs. My school doesn't allow you to take APs freshman year, as I mentioned before, but in sophomore year, I took 4 APs, which were AP Biology, AP Lit, AP Microeconomics, and AP Seminar. And then for junior year, I also took 4 APs. I took AP Macroeconomics, AP Psychology, AP Research, and the last one I'm pretty sure is AP Statistics. And then this year for senior year, I'm taking 3 APs. I'm taking AP Environmental Science, AP Calculus, AP, and AP Language. So I know it sounds kind of weird that I took AP English Lit before AP Lang, but my school just kind of did it weird. And I can tell you guys my AP scores. So I got a total of 6 5s in the past 2 years, 1 4 and 1 3. So I had a 4 in AP Biology, a 5 in AP Lit, 5 in AP Micro, and a 5 in AP Seminar. I had a 5 in AP Macroeconomics, a 5 in AP Psychology, and a 5 in AP Statistics, and I got a 3 in AP Research. And then for my 3 APs this year, I'm not sure what score I'll get, but as an international student, other than your school grades, which I just read out, there are also other tests that you have to take, basically standardized testing. And so for me, I did go test optional for all of my schools because I simply couldn't do SAT math. So yeah, that's that. And then for me, I took the TOEFL and just as like an English proficiency exam. and I got 112 out of 120, and I had a 28 in all of my subsections. So I only took the TOEFL once because it's really expensive and I didn't really want to take it again because I already got like above 110. But I do want to say during my exam, my pencil broke for the reading section, so I couldn't take any notes. So basically I just like literally inputted what I heard into the exam and I still got a 28. So I think that's pretty good. But personally, I don't really prepare for the TOEFL exam that much, just like maybe a month prior, because English is one of my first languages and I didn't really bother as a sophomore to prepare. So I did take the exam sophomore year, yeah. But, you know, for international students, you just have to get above a certain threshold, I would say, for English proficiency. And the SAT nowadays, I don't know if it depends on the school if they emphasize standardized testing or not, but for some of the schools that I got into, I guess not as much because I didn't submit any test scores. Yeah, we're moving on to the next section, which is my extracurricular activities and leadership and things like that. So basically just things I did outside of school and in school. So some schools do require you to submit a CV. For example, my ED school, Northwestern, did. And some schools only want your activities from your Common App section, which you can only put up to 10. So I think it really depends on what you think is important that you did in your high school career. So here is my CV, and I will be reading the contents to you guys. Okay, so the first thing that I put under extracurricular activities and leadership was the EFIT Safe Space. So this was a mental well-being program that I started in school where we gave weekly speeches on mental well-being, relationships, and things that school doesn't really touch on. We also introduced an activity called Stress Quit, where we had de-stressing activities every week for students to participate in, where they can sign up, you know, after a really stressful day of school. And we also created an anonymous venting space for students to talk about maybe relationship problems, family problems that they don't really want to share with other people, and they were completely confidential. So it was just basically a mental health resource for students in school. The second thing I put down was I was the president of my student council in my school for my junior year, and we did the Halloween events, we planned prom, and we also did a secondhand garage sale where we raised over 10K Taiwanese dollars for charitable donations. And so basically I was the council president for that year and was in charge of most of the programs. And then the next thing that I put down was the Journal of Student Research. So for my junior year, I did a research paper on macular degeneration in media coverage, and I eventually did get the paper published in the Journal of Student Research. So I just put that down as another activity, I guess, that I did. So now I am a citable author, I guess, on the internet. If anyone's interested in reading my research paper, you can just let me know. And then the next thing that I put down was the school journal. So I started the school journal and I was the founder and editor-in-chief. And basically every month or other month, we wrote articles about topics that people were interested in. And by people, I meant my writers. And also I basically built a team of people who were interested in writing to kind of be writers in the school newspaper. And I started a website for the school newspaper and basically just built that thing from scratch. And then the next thing that I put down was varsity volleyball. So I was the varsity volleyball captain for my junior year and senior year, and I had been on the team since freshman year, but I've been playing volleyball since the 6th grade. So it's been just something that I've always been doing as a sport, and it is my main sport. And we participated in 3 city-wide cups, and we also did a lot of friendlies with other schools. but this is my main like sport thing, if you will. The next thing I put down was the Stanford University summer session. So last summer when I was a rising senior, I attended the Stanford summer session and made amazing friends there. So shout out to my Stanford friends. But basically I attended classes at Stanford and I attended a lot of speeches of guest speakers that were like really well-known people. And I competed in a business tank proposal or business Shark Tank proposal for our class, and we just did a lot of things over the summer that really helped me academically, so that was really fun. And then the last like little side thing that I put down, which I don't think is completely relevant, is that I did 1 year of boxing and 1 year of Muay Thai. So this is just like a hobby that I put down, but I don't think it's necessary to put it in your like Common App activities unless you run out. Like, unless you have no more ideas, then maybe putting down like a hobby that you're really invested in would be good. Okay, so those were all of my extracurriculars and leadership positions basically in and out of school. And now I'm going to talk about things that are mainly outside of school that I did, like volunteering, internships, part-time jobs, things like that. Okay, so for youth volunteering, I volunteered at the Taichung City Welfare Center. And basically I helped lead teenagers to help clean up stray dog homes and make posters for adoption. And I participated in an anti-drug campaign for the government to basically teach children about, drug use and things like that. Or teach children not to touch drugs, not teach children about drug use. But yeah, you know what I mean. And also we created games for the teens that would go to the center. And oftentimes those teens had like really bad family situations, so they would come to the center to like play games and like do things like that. So it was always fun to like take their minds off of stressful things that may be happening at home. And I also volunteered at the National Taiwan Museum of Fine Arts. So that was the museum we had in my city, and it was a national museum. And I was the guide for the Children's Center at the museum, and also the designated bilingual information and question personnel. So basically, I just utilized my English and Chinese skills and helped children out in the art museum. And then I also volunteered at an organization called Spread the Love. So basically, I wrote a lot of online letters to children with disabilities, such as Down syndrome and things like that, and to help encourage them and make sure that they're seen and they are loved, hence Spread the Love. And then I also volunteered at an organization called Fluent Speak. So basically I helped teach Chinese migrant children English online, and they might not have access to English classes, so we did this for free and built interactive lesson plans to help them improve their English. In my free time, I also translated children's books from Chinese to English, just because I think that was a task that was simpler for me to do as I am bilingual. Yeah. Okay, next section I'm going to talk about is work and internship. So I interned at two places. I interned at the Taiwan Public Service Television, and for this I interned under the Interactive Media Department, where basically I did market research for their upcoming, at the time it was an upcoming TV series, where basically I watched the TV series, looked at how they were marketing it, and gave feedback and improvements on how they could use interactive media to market their TV shows. And then I also interned at an organization called the Asia Pacific MarTech Transformation Alliance Association. It's a handful, I know, but basically it was just like an Asian marketing technology association, and I worked under the director, and he had a really big following. So basically I was his social media manager for like 2,000 to 3,000 subscribers, which I think is relatively big for Taiwan, but yeah. And also I made YouTube videos for his MarTech related information
funny I'm making YouTube videos now, but I made YouTube videos for him using AI, which I thought was really cool. And I was also the official translator for the association, so if they needed translating any articles or things like that, I was the person to go to. So I think, as you guys can see, a big part of my application was my ability to be flexible between Chinese and English, and I think I really used that to my advantage, which is going to lead me to the last thing that I did. Is I had a part-time job where I tutored underprivileged public school Taiwanese kids English, and so basically I taught them for a really small amount, but it was basically like doing volunteering and giving them access to resources that they don't necessarily have at school. My CV also includes skills and awards and qualifications, but I'm gonna be for real here. I didn't really have any awards or qualifications, which could be the reason why I'm not at an Ivy League right now. I'm not sure, honestly, but my school didn't really give us any opportunities to go to any competitions or anything like that, and I wasn't sure what competitions I could attend as a comms major because I don't know, I guess I did like a writing competition. I obviously didn't win, so there's that. Moving on. Okay, so I think a lot of international students will have questions on how to fill out the Common App and things like that. So my Common App essay, I actually wrote 2 versions of it because I really struggled. I think I struggled the most with the essay writing because me personally, I sometimes have too many ideas and I don't really know how to put them into tangible words. So I wrote 2 versions of my Common App essay, and I think one tip I want to give everyone is you don't really have to choose the prompt and then start writing for the Common App. For me, I started writing and then ended up choosing a prompt that fit whatever I wrote, because to a certain degree, all the prompts are kind of similar. They're asking about you, your adversities, your skills, things like that. So you're really the focus of the essay because that's really how they get to know you, right? So for the final essay that I did submit, I chose a prompt about adversity, I think. I'm not sure. Let me check real quick. Just kidding, I lied. So for my Common App essay, I chose the prompt, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. Yes, and in my essay, I talked about how I have a neurological condition and how I basically experienced that during the summer and a lot of other times, and how the experience that I had kind of was the experience that I had mentally struggling through basically high school and middle school in most of my life. So my condition and experience was basically a metaphor for the journey that I had throughout high school and how I kind of found a certain clarity or strength after, like making some realizations and experiences, and how that led me to become a better person, which, I think it really answers the prompt. But if anyone's interested in like reading the whole thing, because I don't really want to share it on the internet, you can send me a message on Instagram and I will send it to you. So yeah, I do think though your essay is really important nowadays, because I did go test optional for all of my applications or submissions, things like that. I did go test optional, but I still got into some really good schools despite not submitting an SAT score. So I think your essay really plays a big part in your application nowadays as well. And somebody asked me why I decided to commit to UNC. So I think that I will also answer this question right now. So basically at the end of my college decisions journey, I was debating between UNC and USC. because I really liked both schools. But one of the first reasons that I chose UNC over USC was simply because the tuition for USC, I didn't think it was worth it. Just because I didn't really get any scholarships or funding or financial aid. And so I would rather have saved that money for maybe going to grad school later or starting my own thing instead of, putting all the money into my tuition. And one of the big things that impacted my decision was also like location and, expenses and things like that. I think LA is just a really expensive city to live in. And, I wouldn't have a car in LA because I'm an international student. I didn't really have any family in California except for some friends. And, LA itself isn't exactly the safest, especially around USC, I would assume. And so that was part of the reason why. And also I chose UNC because I think the program that I got in for was really good for what I wanted to study. So I'll basically be in the Hussman School of Communications at UNC. And also the research triangle at UNC I think is going to benefit me academically really well. And even though UNC might not be like a big city type of vibe, and I am a big city type of person, but I think the opportunities that I'll get at UNC will be really good, even though the same as USC, but I think the opportunities will be better at UNC just for what I want to study. And also, college is really long time, it's 4 years, so I would say to really consider what you care about when you're making a decision, because for me, I went on a back and forth kind of like mental debate for 2 weeks on where to commit, and I was basically asking all my mentors, all my friends, things like that. And I really analyzed both schools to every single detail and then make sure that the one that I was committing to was best fit for me. So yeah. And I also want to talk about financial aid as an international student. Honestly, I think it's pretty limited. Schools don't really give you financial aid as an international student unless you get like a merit scholarship or, things like that. So for me, most of the money that I did get from schools were from scholarships, and I didn't really get any financial aid at all. But I think most schools are also need aware for international students. So if you think that's going to impact your chances of, getting admitted, I would also consider that carefully. And the last thing about financial aid is I think international students have to fill out the CSS profile instead of the FAFSA because we're just not eligible for that. So yeah, I think, as an international student, going abroad is going to be hard, it's going to be expensive, you're going to experience a lot of culture shocks, and it's going to be a brand new experience. But for me personally, I'm really excited. I've already made some good friends at UNC, and the next 4 years are going to be a roller coaster. Yeah, so that's it for my college stats video basically. If you have any more questions, I can answer them in the comments or you can send me a DM. Oh, also, PS, if any international students are applying to college next year and they need any help, I'm always available as a resource to help you navigate throughout the college application journey. So please send me a message or anything like that, and I will be glad to help you. So yeah, have a nice day everyone. Bye.